Shamans, we understand, cause we are the Tech Shamans. Dude, I got this cool thing to show you. Really, man? Yeah, it's far out and technical and stuff. Awesome. Yeah. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Cool.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Tech Shamans. It's Monday. I love Mondays. I love mornings, though. Monday morning.
Monday and morning.
It's two of the greatest words ever. Most
there
people,
you have it, folks.
Most people are like, oh my God, it's Monday.
No, I actually like Monday because normally I'm chomping at the bit all weekend because like ideas are flowing and I'm getting, these like concepts of things that I want to do, I want to work on, I want to try. And it's like the home life is just so busy. It's like finally I can get back to my desk, open up the screens and just start hacking away.
What did you do this weekend, speaking of?
I have no freaking clue.
Was it a blur?
It is a complete blur. I got nothing. I think we spent Saturday having to run around in, heavily infested and infected Pasco County. And then there was...
Pinellas is worse. You know that, right?
Yeah. But
way worse.
Still doesn't make me feel like, oh, gee, it's better.
Just
we are
get
actually
it and
number
get it over
31
with.
in... Yeah. Sounds good.
We have a guest.
Yeah,
Hold on.
yeah.
Let's talk about your guest before
we
get...
have a silent guest over here.
He's not saying much at all.
This is Silent Wes. Okay.
Silent Wes.
And I'm Jay.
Silent Night.
No, Wes is the CEO, as it says on the screen. Look at that. Yeah, Wes Failer of Miles Space. And Miles Space is a... Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about Miles Space? I know some stuff.
Is there only a mile? You own a mile in space now?
Yeah, it's like one of those things you can buy a square foot and get to be a nobility.
And now you're nobility. You're noble.
Laird.
So you're an astronaut.
Somewhere. Eventually, yes. If I can get there to claim it, yes.
Hell yeah, right? Put the flag
We
with
can
a
get you
float.
there. We can get you there. We got enough parts here.
Got pieces of parts.
We've all seen Salvage One. We know how to do this.
Yes.
All we need is a cement truck. And
yeah, pretty much, right?
Or a greenhouse and a couple robots.
There you go.
I'd be all before that. I'd be good. I'm all there. Sorry, anyway, you were running around Pasco County.
Well, actually, what does Miles Space do?
We make small plasma thrusters for satellites, and we make communication arrays set on the ground to talk to those satellites.
Nice.
Neat
or at least the
stuff.
software for them.
Okay, so I'm glad you said that because it's kind of funny. All right, so in a roundabout way.
Here goes the rabbit hole.
Right.
Great.
I used to work for NASA.
Really?
Yeah. You ready for this?
What do you got?
Roundabout way, right? So when we first moved down here, I had to get a job. I got a job, right? I worked for Advanced Plasma.
Oh.
Advanced Plasma made plasma chambers for Paul Aeronautics. Paul Aeronautics bought those plasma chambers to treat circuit boards for NASA. So in a roundabout way, I work for NASA.
Well, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
In a roundabout way, I used to work for Red Cross.
See?
Because I was at a trade show, at a maker fair,
Yep.
talking about the plasma thruster.
Right.
And this little boy, God bless him, was horrified when I explained it ran on plasma.
Thinking
Horrified.
blood. Thinking blood, yeah.
Horrified. Like shaking.
Vampire
Horrified.
thrusters.
And I looked at his mom. She looked at him. She's like, kind of like, oh, wait a minute. Did you just learn about blood in school? I was like, yeah, not that kind of blood.
Different kind of plasma.
Different kind of plasma.
Different kind of plasma. Yep.
That's awesome.
So anyway, yeah. So
We take your
roundabout way, I
plasma,
guess I'm NASA qualified
Right on.
because I was a project manager that actually worked with the architect. Boom. That and then I tell you, I never realized as the length they went to treat just the circuit boards that are on the ships and on the shuttles. Because the plasma chambers we were building that went to Paul right here in Newport Richey treated at that time the lot of the circuitry boards that went onto the shuttle, which was super cool. I'm like, wow.
They're probably trying to improve the adhesion of all the chemicals.
It's got to be super clean, so that way when they did their gold, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Shockingly, cosmic rays come ripping through, and they dislodge electrons. They make little bits of static electricity in all those circuit boards.
Right.
And eventually that static will build up, and you'll get a little spark, and you'll blow out this, $1 million board.
Right.
And so you've got to put on a slightly conductive coating. Not an insulator, but a slightly conductive coating to get rid of that. But it's got to be perfect. It's got to be in all the little nooks and crannies, so there's no place for static to build up. Because if you put on too much of it, it's too conductive, and you'll short the board. And if you put on too little, then it's not conductive enough.
Right.
And so that treatment is worth its weight in gold.
And that's what they use for all solder points.
Yeah.
Is gold.
Yeah.
It's worth its weight in gold.
Worth its weight in
Absolutely.
gold.
See-
Literally.
see what we
Oh
did
my
there?
gosh.
See, what'd you do
Wow,
this weekend?
We have been so rabbit holed. Go.
Go. I don't even know. I really don't.
You don't know either?
I don't know.
You stayed home with the brood?
Yeah. We stayed home. We chilled. Didn't do much of anything.
Do Christmassy stuff?
Did Christmassy stuff.
That's what I did yesterday.
Played some Dead by Daylight,
Dead by Daylight. Oh my God, my
Which-
kids
which
are
is hilarious.
totally into that game.
Which is hilarious because we got our son upstairs and we got 3 systems downstairs. So they all make enough to go up against one killer in the game. So they all are on, they're all on mic talking to each other, telling where everybody is. So the guy has no chance, so forget about it.
That connection
Okay.
was a little too close.
Little too close.
I made a new mask. I was working on a new mask design this
mask.
weekend. Something like nobody's ever seen, and it was an abject failure. But yeah, it was. I actually molded some plastic to look over a face, a face mask, so it looked like a regular face. And the material I was working with was like a light brown kind of thing. And so when I put this on, I just looked like Freddy Krueger. It was really, really bad. It was so real, but I just looked like a horrible burn victim, that wasn't wearing a mask. I'm like, okay, this is a bad idea. We're not going to do this. We're
I
not gonna do
still,
this.
I still want Bane's mask.
I was going to say.
Well,
man,
that was like, I'm going to try this first, and then I'm leaning towards Bane. I've got one other one in mind that I'm going to work on, and so yeah, see how that works out.
Very nice. Very, very cool.
Bane mask with a voice synthesizer in it.
Dude, I mean, because so my son goes to Marchman, and they made him stop wearing the neck ones
Yeah, those don't
Okay.
really work.
because they doesn't matter. People are wearing them, but they said it makes you look like a bandit, makes you look like someone that's going to come in. And I'm like, well, what does a face mask look
I mean,
like?
yeah,
Yeah.
that doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
It didn't make any sense. It's just they can't see the neck, and I'm like, who
Come on,
cares?
how are these kids going to know if they smell bad if they're not sucking in the air from underneath
Yeah,
their shirt?
you would think there would be a lot more bathers now. So
So modern movies will use instead of a white hat or black hat to identify the characters. They'll use a regular mask or a gator.
Or
Pull
a gator.
a gator.
Yeah, the gators are the bad guys.
Gators are bad guys.
Masks are the good guys. There we go.
I want to go back to the days of the old train robberies where they had the handkerchief around there and go.
we still get those in Pasco. You need to get out to Lowe's more often.
Lowe's scares me.
Yes, it does.
So
Not as bad
Home
as Home Depot.
Home Depot.
Yeah.
Woo-hoo. Anyway, I went to Universal Studios.
You crazy fool.
How was it?
It's kind of
The
weird.
masses want to know.
They're down to up to 50%, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So every ride is every other seat. Every line is 6. You got your 6 feet, right? And so you walk around the park, and it's like, oh, this is not even busy. But it was 100 minutes to ride anything.
Right.
Wow.
100 minutes because of the 6 foot and
Yeah.
So I'm curious on the roller coasters. So like you normally would say 2 or 3 across on a bench.
if you're family, yes.
Okay.
If you're not, say you're a single rider, you have your row to yourself.
Now, what about the person behind you?
Nope.
There's nobody behind
Nobody
you.
behind you.
Oh, nobody
They
behind.
have to
Another row
skip that
back.
one, yeah.
Ah, okay.
That's
where
why
they're
it took
skipping.
forever
wait.
to
All
get
right,
through.
they are being,
There's
more.
because
Oh,
I've
wait.
seen places where we're going to put a little gap between us, but then the next person's huddled right up behind.
No, they did it. They did it right. If you were by yourself, you had the whole row to yourself. Typically, they put you in the center,
Luxurious.
right? And then no seat behind you. Then the next row.
And no seat
So
in
you
front
can
of you either.
recline.
So when you went with your kids, you're like, no, I
If
don't
you
know
were-
that.
now, here's the thing: if you go into a ride that's 3-seater, and there's 4 of you, the 3, and then one behind is you, and then there's a skip.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or you could just say, I don't know this family and don't sit with
Yeah.
you know. But what I was just thinking, okay, so if they're offsetting it, when the ride's done, do they come up and decide to offset so they can clean the rows that people were just sitting in?
Nope.
And then offset. See, now that it doesn't.
So
make
we got into a seat of a person that was already sitting there.
Operations. Neat.
So they could have cleaned. Okay, first row, skip. Next row.
Yeah, but you can't do that if you're giving the next row to somebody else, because then you can't.
Well, the next row
Yeah.
has to be clean.
Yeah.
The first row has
But
to be
even
clean
then-
now that they got out, and the row behind's already clean, so they should be sitting there next, and then it should rotate each time. But see, it doesn't.
And like the the rock and roll roller coaster thing there, it's there. They were only running one car or one train, right?
Right.
So that train had to come in and wait and clean, and they wiped down real quick, and then they alternated you. So when they came in, and by the time that got back, that other seat would it was
So I would have thought no germ could keep up with that ride.
no, yeah,
Now they don't have to clean the Tower of Terror. Okay.
that's just all puke.
Yeah. Well, no.
Well, that's Disney, but okay.
It's because it's because the germs are too afraid.
Yeah, it's all.
They
It's
won't
all
even
He gets
near it.
he gets
It's
to
all
the
puke.
top, and all the
Stomach
germs are hanging
acid
up there,
burns
and
them out.
as
pretty
it drops,
much.
they just
Exactly.
all the germs are still up there, and it drops, and it's clean, it's sanitized. They're all just floating up there, going, wait!
I wouldn't just
the
don't be
blue blood.
downwind of that, or the aerosols will come
Right.
back.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God. And so,
Yep.
so let's jump into the show here.
Oh,
I know
boy.
we wasted 15 minutes, but that's all right.
That's
You
crazy.
know what? It's my show, and by God, we
Where
can
did
do
the
what we
time
want
go?
to. Let's talk about what you do, because that is interesting. That is very cool. Now, is that one right there?
What do you think that is?
That's a thruster.
That's actually 4 thrusters. 4 thrusters, a water tank, and a bunch of high voltage
And it's
parts.
actually that size.
Yeah.
Yes.
Probably a little smaller. I think
That is
Anthony's
a-
3D printer exaggerated a little.
Yep.
TV adds a centimeter.
That is amazing. Wow, that's funny. So the thrusters, I can see it looks like what looks
Yeah,
like
out of the end.
ports.
Yeah. 4 thrust ports and then a fill port, so the end user
That's
can
what's on
refill.
top.
Yeah.
This whole thing sits into the body of the satellite, and the only thing exposed is this flat surface on top.
Okay.
So you got a fill port, and those are actually your 4 thrusters. They all point in the same direction.
Yeah.
And that is
Because in space, nobody can hear you steer.
so that's all you need for thrust. It's something that small.
Yeah, and to bring a satellite down, according to some of the new FCC suggested regulations to get a satellite out of orbit, that's all you need in order to bring it down in a controlled fashion.
Yep.
You know,
Well, now these plasma thrusters are enormously powerful relative to what you think they should be.
and it's just
for
a
their
one-shot
size.
deal, right?
No, they run. This will run for days on its fuel. Days
No,
or
what
weeks
I
on
mean,
fuel.
but once it's used, it's done.
Oh no, you can restart them.
Really?
Yeah, they start and stop and restart
It's not a rocket.
thousands of times,
Yeah.
no problem. It's not a solid fuel rocket where you light it and you better
Done,
be ready.
right? But I mean, how much fuel, even though it's not fuel, how much fuel does it hold?
250 grams. So,
Okay.
a small cup of water. Small cup of
And
water.
it is water. It runs on water.
Yeah.
Does
So
it
we-
freeze when it gets up there?
Yeah, it does, but that's fine.
See, I'm asking the right question.
Fun fact.
you go.
When you shove water in a bell jar and you do those high school lab experiments, and you're like, oh, look, the water boils in vacuum and it's sloshing all over.
Right.
That's trapped gas coming out.
Okay.
The water's not really boiling. It's a
Right.
neat effect. It's
Yeah.
just trapped gas. Once you degas the water and you let that go, then that nice still water will sit there and it'll diminish and then it'll freeze because you took off all the hot stuff. It'll freeze and then the ice will just shrink and go away. So even ice turns into water vapor in a vacuum. So as long as you run the pressure at vacuum, you'll pull off water vapor from frozen ice.
That is absolutely the coolest thing I've ever heard.
It defies most people's intuition
Right.
because of a lazy high school science experiment. That's really
I get it. I
trapped
totally
gas.
get it. Yeah.
We're kind of just thinking you got to send an Italian up there to shave off the ice.
Little teeny Mario and Luigi.
Wow,
We
didn't
have
see
this
that
available
coming.
2 colors.
We were really trying to figure out who goes around filling them all up after they've spent all their fuel.
So now, is this something
Little
that can
water
be retrofit up there, or is it has to be done from the ground up?
For us, we're focused on ground up.
Ground up.
But there are emerging companies that are all about refueling and maybe even retrofitting satellites. They're still working their business cases. A few of them have attracted some money on the refueling side. So the world's getting its mind around that notion.
Okay.
And we'd like to think we're ready for it. Water is fuel of the future in terms of being everywhere.
Right.
And surprisingly, there's more water in space than you think. So we're kind of ready for that, but people are just getting started with that line of thinking.
So if we colonize the moon, like they're talking about, right, and the moon has ice, right, those could be sent up and ice put in them
And refueled from there.
and
yeah.
refueled from there.
Yes.
See, that's
Or a comet tail.
Although that's...
You can capture it. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
you
I'll just sit
stealing
in
his
my corner and be
thunder.
quiet.
Way to
You
go,
let me know when to
Arian.
talk, Anthony.
You close this thing. Okay.
Right. No. It turns out when we go up to the moon, we're probably going to be mining some of the metals there.
Right.
You know, there's a lot of titanium and everything. Did you know that, Anthony?
No, I had no idea. Wow.
Anyway,
I'm stunned into silence.
Silence. He still can't be silent.
Silence of the Lamb.
Don't challenge me on that
he has goats.
one.
Anyway, it's more likely that in the mining of that metal, we're going to rip off oxygens that are attached to it,
Right.
that were there when the moon formed, and those oxygens and stray hydrogens that are bound up in the metals are more likely what we would use to refuel this, because the water ice is probably more reserved for people who actually need the water and the oxygen more directly.
Okay.
There's less of that. So that's probably people and the mining byproducts was what you'd use to refuel stuff.
So this could be a way to clean all the crap satellites out there that need to go away.
If you put it on the right size garbage truck, you could do that. Our focus is right now to say if you're building a new satellite, let's not contribute to the mess. Put something like this on so you can get out of the way if something's coming, because we have very good thrust.
Right.
So you can get out of the way. And more than that is don't wait 25 years and let nature bring it down haphazardly wherever, where you might actually rain little nuts and bolts down on people. Little known effect. The small satellites, they're not big enough to burn up every little thing. If you got titanium or tungsten in there, it'll come down and hit people.
Huh?
Yeah. So
They don't tell you that.
they don't tell you that.
Hey, by the way.
Little satellites aren't big enough for that. So we're saying, hey, let's put something like this that's small, affordable, blah blah blah, all the great marketing stuff that Anthony knows better than I do. Get that on the satellite so you can bring it down on purpose and really burn it up and really control it.
Basically, it's a bankruptcy button. When your
Yeah.
company goes up and goes bankrupt, beep.
Yeah.
No more liability now, guys.
It's all gone. Went to the sun.
Well, it's actually an interesting philosophical dilemma because you launch your satellite, and as nerds, when we hear a news story about this satellite lived 5 years longer, its mission was over 5 years ago, but it's still going, we're happy about that, aren't we?
Woohoo, what has it been
I
doing?
didn't mean to silence you like that aggressively, Anthony. All right, fair enough.
I do. Don't worry about it.
All right.
He'll get over it real
Somebody
quick.
pet Anthony and wake him up. But anyway, we get excited. We get excited when those missions live longer than they were supposed to.
Right.
Right? That doesn't play well in a future where you have to bring the satellite down to make room for others and stop the debris. I'm really worried that there's a philosophical design barrier waiting for us,
Right.
where the engineers will not want to design a satellite to have an end of life at 5 years, which is about the time a satellite that size or a little bigger has got about a 5-year window before it gets hit by existing space junk, at which point it's pretty much toast.
Right.
So you've probably got to bring it down on purpose before then. And I'm personally worried about the engineering mindset, the managerial mindset, the investment mindset, that we're going to take something that's working because you can talk to it and command it and say, we're done, bring it down.
Right.
I don't think we know how to train people to think that way. I don't think we know how to invest in companies that are
Right.
thinking that way.
No, and actually, we do a lot of that right now, but it's engineered obsolescence.
Yes.
I mean, Edison's first light bulb is still burning, and yet I can't get one to last a month.
Excellent point.
It's because it's engineered in to die at that time.
Right.
It's like a replicant, with a 4-year lifespan.
Well,
But,
see,
but when you think space, you think, I'm going to build something that will last forever. Future alien
No.
civilizations will find
No.
my satellite surviving.
No, you really have to say the only thing that'll live longer than the satellite is the thruster that'll take it out of orbit.
I
And
love that.
then-
Can I use that?
Sure.
All right.
Works for hire. Having that kind of control over the deorbiting of the satellite is really where we need to get a grip on this thing. Now, when you look at this thing is about 4 inches on the side.
Yeah.
Okay, it really is that small. Okay, you're looking at something tiny, and this is a fully enclosed, complete thruster unit. The only thing missing is a power supply. Am I correct?
Power supply and a computer.
And a computer to run it. But the fact is, this is then added into what are called CubeSats. Most of your satellites that are up there right now are the size of a bread box. or
that's what I was
smaller.
getting ready to say. Most,
That's
Coffee
what these
table-
are
coffee
designed
table
for.
yeah,
pretty
this
popular.
this
Yeah.
is the size of everybody. When everybody thinks of satellite, we all think
You
of
think
the
V'ger.
V'ger or the MTV. When they blow the MTV one up, it's huge. It's like the size of a
School
a
bus.
house.
The school bus.
Right,
Yeah.
right. But this is the size of most.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the 200 kilogram class satellite, 180 kilogram, which still gets called small sat.
Right. And that's
a lot of
that's
area.
the size of Elon's
that's
stuff.
what
Right,
these
is
are
about
designed-
that size.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And these are designed to push those around.
Yeah.
They're bullies.
Yeah.
God,
Totally.
you're building a bully.
Pulley thruster.
Just throw them
Bullet
up there, put some magnets on them, throw them up there, let them attach to all this space junk, and just bring it all down.
Did you hack my business plan server?
No, he couldn't because it's on Google.
Ah,
Speaking of which, so the first thing
That's
we're going
me segueing.
there you go. First thing we're going to talk about is
What used to be called Google.
CISA. No, we're going to go CISA.
Oh, we're on there first? Okay.
CISA.
Yeah.
CISA.
Let's talk about this, Adam.
Well,
Rip it and grip it. Grip it, rip it.
pretty much over the weekend, U.S. Treasury was hijacked by through some tools that most managed service providers or IT companies that manage networks and stuff like that. They use different kinds of tools that can go ahead and monitor networks, whether or not your network goes down, whether or not your hard drive's getting ready to fail on a particular device, things like that. And those tools were infiltrated. I guess it was SolarWinds endpoint that they installed that was infiltrated, but it was caused by Orion's back-end tool, their tool for monitoring and giving all that pretty display and all that wonderful, graphical interface. And what it was is they got injected with malware that in turn was signed by SolarWinds software and said, oh, it must be okay, it came from Orion. And that malware was then able to propagate through SolarWinds
Right.
endpoints and be distributed as an update to their endpoint
Yep.
software, and then it went across, entire
Yeah.
networks.
Which-
not just the U.S. Treasury, but it's
No, as a matter of fact, we just got news just before coming on the air that one of the other systems that was affected by this was the Dominion software voting platform. Yes, they
Not
also had SolarWinds.
not the unhackable Dominion
Oh,
software.
yes, the unhackable Dominion.
No one could ever get in there and manipulate voting results.
I mean, heaven forbid they walk up with a USB chip, whatever.
do we
USB
have any
drive.
do we have any more technical details? Was it a compiled executable that was malicious and got signed, or was it a script code, or like a war file?
It was like more like it was the exploit was I believe a script that was injected that allowed the software then to call out to specific servers and stuff and then
Okay.
start downloading
Yep.
So they called the
tools and stuff
mothership
like
and
that
said, "Hey, look what I
into
got."
the machines. So it kind of what they would not have been able. This is not something that's some kid sitting in their basement was playing around with.
Right.
This was done.
So scripts have a
Unless it's
script
Dexter
interpreting
Riley.
engine,
Yeah.
and if that script interpreting engine had a whitelist of URLs, would that have stopped this?
It's a possibility if but then again, that would have required SolarWinds and everybody to already be aware of what was getting
sure,
ready,
sure.
ready to
Coming
happen.
from.
Sure.
Well, yes and no, but if they were only dealing with whitelisted URLs.
The
Okay, but also, I mean, what can you fake with a VPN?
I know.
Okay.
No.
The
Yeah.
the malware, I did read into it. I forgot the name. In some of our IT groups, it had some kind of solar. I think it was called Solar Burst or something like that. So different companies are calling it different things. But so far, Microsoft has already updated their tools to detect the malware that was injected through this install. So they've already detected it, and they're already sending out the virus definition. So
Do we know-
Windows Defender will be able to spot it, and so will other.
Do we know when this started?
I believe they said this originally started back in July. June or July. Yeah, this has
For
been
those who think that this was just happening this weekend and had nothing to do with the
No, just-
potential election software, there's something completely
no,
off
just
the
just to
table.
let you know that
Yeah.
there was an IT company, managed service provider that was just announced that they were hijacked, and that was just over a week ago. So this is something that SolarWinds or whoever has been aware of, but they just didn't know how bad it was until now that the United States government
done
has
some forensics
basically,
on it.
now
Yeah.
they said, hey,
They gone, oh
we're
crap. Yeah.
All right, so I don't follow a lot of this IT stuff. I'm glad you guys do, thank you. But I will offer an insight about what a potential cause of this. And patches will not fix it.
no.
Okay. So
Nope.
developer makes awesome software, end user wants. End user says, I want to use this, but I can't install it until my admin approves it. So now they wait for the IT department to come around, fill out paperwork, go through meetings, etc., and then it gets installed. Now, do they want to do that every time there's an update, every time there's a new feature they've been clamoring for? No. So developers are under increasing pressure to add scripting languages
Yeah.
into their code, not just because it's more productive in terms of who you can hire and who's available in the market, but because it's easier on the end users to ship them, a zip file, it's a text file, new Python code that they install, and they don't have to get their IT department involved for that. You can self-update. And so it's this end user wanting fast response from the IT department, driving developers to use more scripting tools and leading to this kind of vulnerability. And until you resolve that tension, this is going to keep coming up more and more and more because it's the way to go in modern software development.
Right. Yeah, especially like, say, for instance, if Orion updated their software, their graphical interface, when they put it live, there's nothing there to say, hey, let's double check, what we've just produced before we push the update to our other service providers, which would have been SolarWinds and stuff like that. So there's
Because GUI unit testing and automated GUI testing is almost impossible to do. It's
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
Incredibly expensive. You got to have a bunch of users sitting
And
there.
clearly the cost of not doing it is minimal.
Of course. Just imagine how expensive this is going to be. I can tell you that
The upfront cost.
I think
Nobody
they
budgets for back.
Yeah.
just to give you an
They don't
idea.
have to. You have insurance for that.
SolarWinds, okay. So for instance, if nobody knows what SolarWinds is, it's usually it's a remote monitoring platform for IT companies to monitor what's happening on their end users' network. So, as an IT professional, you buy into the software package. You install the endpoints on hundreds of thousands of machines or companies, and you install the software, and that software is supposed to monitor and tell you, analytics about what's happening to their network,
Right.
allows remote access most of the time into their networks, gives complete control of their network. Problem
What could
is,
possibly go wrong?
What could possibly go wrong? I
Well,
mean,
let me tell you what could go wrong before we jump to Google. All right, we're going to jump down to number 5. A top cybersecurity firm gets hacked.
that was one of them. That was Red. I believe the company was Red Eye or something like that.
So when the
FireEye,
guys,
yeah.
when the guys that watch the guys who are out watching us guys gets hacked.
That's
Those are some smart guys.
those
Those
they
are some
knew
smart bad guys.
they knew the exact best way to get into the networks, and that's it. As a matter of fact, I was just reading up too that there was a company over in China that was
Not China.
no.
No, come on, not China.
They were promoting themselves as a IT service provider and consultants, and they were getting in, and they were really state-sponsored hackers that were, parading around as IT companies and service providers and installing back ends. And
There's a parade.
yes,
So I wonder if Congressman Swalali, the China spy guy, I wonder if he knew all about all this stuff.
I doubt it.
Yeah,
I
he
don't
was
think
too
he knew
enamored
what
over
he
the hot
was doing.
Chinese chick.
Yeah.
personally, I'm a little upset that Fancy Bear wasn't involved, just because of the name,
Yeah.
Fancy Bear.
Fancy bear.
But
So with all this hacking going on, I mean, when you get our government's being hacked, one of our top cybersecurity companies in the United States gets hacked.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden, Google goes dark.
That's a complete coincidence.
Just really?
Complete
well,
coincidence.
I guess if I'm not mistaken, when I read this too, that a larger part of this that I sent you link also stated that they told anybody basically what is that word, civilian companies to
Okay.
go ahead and if they're using any of these back end
Yeah.
tools, shut down your systems now. So
It may be that Google was using them and shut down voluntarily
for a split
in order
second
to purge their
purge and
system.
go over to something different. Or
Well, and on top
Yeah.
of that, Google was they were testing dark mode.
yeah,
Well,
it could have
that's
been a
what they say.
coincidence, but there's too much stuff going
Sounds
on.
like a
right
nice
now.
cover story.
Yeah.
That's as far as I'll go with that one.
Well, we
I don't
just
know. I can't imagine Google not telling everybody the absolute truth about everything.
Right? I know.
I know.
Yeah,
Don't do evil.
Don't
No.
do bad.
Yeah.
we're
under the
good.
guise of a nonprofit doing great things in the world.
Except not. So, yes, way to go, ABC. Or Alphabet, sorry. ABC.
Well, yeah,
I used to call them
thing.
ABC all the time, and
Yeah.
someone tell you they're named Alphabet. Yeah, the alphabet is FBI, CIA, Homeland Security. There's your alphabet right there.
So,
There you go.
so it was a good idea to
VHS.
go ahead and fire the head of cybersecurity in
Right?
the United States just before all this happened, right?
What
Perfect
a
idea.
coincidence! What a coinkydink!
Well,
So he
is it
fired or
just
quit?
before?
No, he fired. They
Or
let him go. Let
they're
him go.
going-
Yes.
We got our first report, and you let all this happen since July. You are so out of here, but we're going to make up something else to cover it for now.
For now.
That is probably way more likely of what happened.
It's-
Because you can bet if this is hitting the news this week, when was he fired?
Gosh.
You think
Mid-November.
Maybe the
Right?
White House didn't know, maybe a couple weeks earlier. Probably. Just a little bit.
Could be.
Yeah. Yep. So,
But then
bam.
again,
Well, how
but
would
then
he know
again,
the
that
top?
guy had some
I mean,
pretty
our
good,
top cybersecurity company in the United States got. I mean, they're the ones that got hacked.
That's part of it.
Yeah. So.
But so, remember, you can be the top of anything, but when you're relying on third-party tools to control everything that you do in your company, that's the part you don't have control over.
Right.
And this is the one thing a lot of the IT guys that
They're
we're talking
silent
about.
tools. Silent tools.
Right.
Yeah, they're,
Hey,
they're
you rely on
silent
them,
tools.
but you don't realize.
Okay,
you use
so
them so much you
so
forget
that
about
Yeah,
right there
exactly.
goes back to the very point when WeBeam TV or Tampa Bay Multimedia was young, right? When we were Bayou Productions.
Way back
old.
when.
We're back in the old days.
In the aughts.
I did not use anybody but my own video servers.
Yep.
I had this aversion. Well, first of all, when Bayou Productions was first around, YouTube wasn't really a thing.
No, you had a 15-minute max.
Right. So all of our videos that we we housed it on our website was all based on our server, and actually our own internal server.
Yeah.
So it was going up to the cloud or to our online server, coming back down to the video server, going back up, and so there was always this lag and delay. As we got bigger, we started trusting the cloud, which is nothing but a goddamn server. So we started putting all of our video up there, right?
On somebody else's
And then
server
when
to talk about.
GoDaddy came to us and said, hey, well, we went to GoDaddy, and then we said, hey, they said, we'll partner with you. That's great. They're like, well, here's first thing first. You got 7 terabytes of video. We don't want that. So they're the ones that pushed me to YouTube.
Okay.
So we push stuff to YouTube, and that way now we have our on-demand through YouTube. But so if your Google services go down, guess what went down?
This morning.
So
YouTube.
now, but now we have to be careful what it is that we say on our programs. Otherwise, you'll get kicked off YouTube now.
Right.
There
and
goes Twisted
so,
Views.
well, nope.
There goes.
I know Twisted Views is fine. We're good. Yeah, they don't. But here's what they. So I put up we have a show called 62 Who Knew.
Yeah.
He has a podcast which is the Reverse Planet, right? So we finally got them. Their social media is going whole 9 yards. So I shared the first post. What is of those little 10-minute video? What is a reverse mortgage? And I shared it to both of my personal pages, and got hit because that's misinformation. So I fired back immediately. First of all, it's not misinformation. The reverse mortgage is one of the safer programs. Now it's been fixed, blah, 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 blah. You need to go check your checkers because they don't know what they're talking about.
No, the fact checkers have just gone crazy lately. I mean, there was.
You know what we should do? Every post we do, we should put an automatic 15 seconds for the video, fact checked.
Header underneath. Rawr.
I had.
It's been fact checked.
No, I had a friend of mine say, you know what? I got sick of. I got off social media. I got sick of it, and then of course I had COVID, and I was down for 3 or 4 weeks. But I came back. I decided what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a podcast. Okay, and it's just going to be positive news. We're not going to touch on politics. We're not going to touch on anything. And so I'm like, wow, I like what this guy is doing. Way to go, John Pica. I really like what this guy's doing. And so I went ahead and I went to share it. And what happens? Bam, I get an alert on it. It's like, this post discusses COVID, and we don't know the context. And so it may be dangerous to share this post.
What?
Holy crap, he said he had it, and so therefore he was late on his homework assignment. And it said, only click through if you're absolutely certain you could. I'm like, good Lord.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
getting
was just
crazy.
insane. I mean, here's this guy saying, I'm getting away from all this stuff, and Facebook still follows him. It's like, no, you used the magic 5-letter word. Okay, we have to, put up a warning about your post. It's crazy. And of course, now we have, where are we? It's down too
6.
far. Down 6? That's it? Yeah, no,
7.
not 6. If you want to do 6, that's great.
No.
I was looking for the YouTube one, where they're going to be killing content. Number 4.
Number 4.
YouTube to delete content alleging presidential election fraud.
Yep.
Yep. So,
If you speak,
see, we just said that.
oh, we're in trouble.
We could be
Way
in
to go,
trouble now
Anthony.
for saying it.
Good job.
But we didn't
You
allege
wrote it.
We didn't allege it. We just mentioned it,
Yeah. Well, that's all
Well,
it takes.
you had allegedly mentioned what was happening. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly.
Yeah, I mean, we've been
We
sitting
need
here.
a thesaurus in order to
I
dodge
should-
these people.
Hold on, we've been talking about SolarWinds getting hacked. That probably got us bumped right there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
No, I don't
just
have
turns
any
out they're
alerts yet,
involved with
so I think
Dominion.
we're okay.
You know.
No, you have plausible deniability. Solar winds is a bunch of plasma coming from the sun.
We're talking about solar panels.
Yes.
Yeah, so fact check that.
Check you out.
And we have
What
plasma
do you
thrusters
hate
right here on the
solar
show.
now? You a solar bully?
Yeah, there you go.
Are we anti-sun all of a sudden?
Elon, what's going on?
What's going on? Yeah. So
Get over here.
You must have the truth according to Elon.
I like Elon. Did that mission go off yesterday at noon? Or did it get
I love
scrapped
the way
again?
he spun the one that blew up when it landed.
Oh, hey,
That
we
was
learned a lot
awesome.
out of it, though.
We learned a lot out of it.
We learned a
That's
lot
the
out of
point.
it, so that's okay.
We learned
Man,
fire.
did
Come
you
in a
see-
little slower.
Yeah, did you see that thing come down? Boom.
Yeah.
Whoops.
Oops. Well, they had 3 out of 4 thrusters out. They were trying to land on 1 thruster or something.
Oh, they got this.
Oh, yeah.
They got
I mean, the fact they brought it down that close. Holy crap.
Yeah.
He's like, they moved the junk. Look, we hit the X.
That's all that
Not
matters,
to mention,
right?
and the capsule survived.
Yes, it did.
The
See,
capsule
everybody,
survived.
no one talks about that. No one talks about the
I
fact
just talked about
you
that.
did good.
I'm probably going to get fact checked on
Fact
it, but I
checked.
just talked about it.
This is great
The
because
monkey
you know what?
lives.
I'm going to fact check him because he said nobody talks about it, and I just talked about it. He
This
just
is
called me a
funny.
nobody.
The capsule
What?
survives, but everybody inside looks like a fucking. They look like scrambled eggs, but hey, capsule's good.
Capsule's good.
Black
Don't
boxes.
open that.
Yeah, don't open that.
Don't open that, guys.
Leave that alone. Just bear it the way it is.
No, they need to marinate some more. Hold on.
Have you guys been watching Moonbase 8?
Never even heard of it.
Oh, dude, it is hilarious.
On what streaming
I think it's
channel? Something?
Showtime.
Oh, that would involve having only like cable or something.
I'll get it to
I have
you.
to buy something
I'll
else.
get it to you. Don't worry. Hilarious.
Really?
Okay.
Oh my God, yeah. It's they're out in the desert of, I think it's New Mexico, and they're on this base and they're trying to train for,
Okay.
and they have to act as if, you
Yeah.
know,
Okay.
airlock the whole 9 yards. Oh my God.
It's
I can't think of his name, but it's the same guy that's always with, like he's in Sherlock Holmes.
Jude Law. Or a
No,
different
no, no,
Sherlock
no.
Holmes.
The funny, the one you don't like, the one that made fun of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh.
And
Never mind.
What's the? He's
That was-
always
that was Holmes and
the
Watson.
curly-haired partner.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, damn it! I hate when I do this. I'm old. I get a lot of hits to the head.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah, but it's actually funny, and
Yeah.
it was like Space Force. You know, everybody's like it's all to make fun of.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Satire. Satire is the word he's looking for.
Satire. It was, it's good.
Don't even say that, because even people believe satire sites.
Oh my
It's
God.
horrible.
Dude.
The Onion?
Have you seen how close some
People
of them
take the
have gotten?
Onion seriously.
Babylon Bee had one out the other day. I'm like, this isn't actually satire. They just changed the names. They literally took a regular
real.
story that's out there and they just changed the names and published it to call it satire. You know?
So-
And it's like, oh my God.
I want to talk real quick about how
Okay.
students are falling behind on online schools.
Yeah.
Why?
The
Because-
interactivity is just not there.
What do you mean the interactivity?
Oh, I mean,
You're talking about student to student or student to teacher?
No, student to teacher and student to student. I mean, you haven't got that peer group help. You haven't got those, you know, like, gee, I'm having trouble with this. Gee, so am I. Let's work it out together. Okay, kind of thing. You haven't, I mean, I know somebody taking an online course right now, and it's college level, and literally the teacher said, okay, email me if you have any questions. That was the entire commitment of the teacher for 8 weeks.
Teachers-
Email me if you have a question.
That's typical college.
Teachers have been
But-
putting stickers all over their faces. How dare you say they're not helping?
Yeah,
Joyce.
you're so mean.
I know.
You're teacher shaming now.
I'm
Way
teaching
to go,
them.
guys.
But, you know, in this case, there's not that, and you don't even know if you should be asking this question. And that's what's lacking. Nobody makes a dumb mistake in the classroom anymore.
Well,
You know?
nobody
And
dies.
somebody goes, wow,
nobody,
wait a minute,
nobody
that
dies
actually
of
brings
old
up
age
something
either. It's
good.
all COVID. So.
Yeah, well, there is that. So what's the article say, John?
Well, the article says the same thing you said. It's because
Oh.
you know they can't talk. But I listened to the kids today, right, talking
Yeah.
about their school, and there's no interaction in there. Most of them, I mean, they're friends. They're not talking about schoolwork. They're talking about crap. There's no really one-on-one with the teacher unless that child is one of the better students in the class that really wants to. And I'm pretty sure that these kids can get to their teacher and get a Zoom session one-on-one. I think what this is truly showing is the absence of thought on the children. And I'm throwing this back onto the
Okay.
kids. I'm sorry, but I'm
No,
the
please.
mean guy, right? Because
Nice kid shaming.
I know kid shaming. Right?
Whatever it is.
When if these kids were having such a hard time, then you call the teacher. The teachers will, because I know 2 teachers right now that say that they Zoom one-on-one with their kids that need help, or they'll do a study class online the best they can.
Right.
But and then I also know a couple of teachers that are saying this is no different. Other than we're doing it through Zoom,
No
the
different than what
teaching
they've
experience is really still the same. I'm still talking to a bunch of kids, and this is the older kids that don't really ask for help. They've never asked for help. So this is just showing that it's bringing the failure of the way the learning process has happened over the last few years.
Yes.
I'm going to say it's not just the kids.
Oh no. Okay.
I ran a software company for 14 years, lots of employees, and when I had a separate office, can I swear on this show? Grown-ass people would not get out of their desk and walk 10 feet to my office to talk about a problem. I had to go sit out in the bullpen with the developers to listen for the lack of typing, to go, wait, are you having an issue?
Okay, so I'm going to bring
Kids are
it.
the same way.
That's why
Kids
I'm bringing
are
it back
the same
to-
way.
yep.
When they have a problem, nobody wants to admit it. We don't celebrate problem
Hold on a
solving.
minute. I'm going to bet that every one of those developers you had in the bullpen had been a kid.
That didn't want to ask any questions.
I have no
Or-
proof of that, but I would
Some of them were just
not
swatted
having,
out as
not
dope.
having hacked their Facebook account.
Not
I
wanting
know-
to
I know.
speculate.
Correlation is not causation, but still.
Wait,
Um,
today the kids are
Not how
putting
much they
more
learn.
effort into
Speculate.
their online social media status than they are their own works.
Okay.
Of course.
Now there are the exception to
Or
the
video
rules.
games.
Or video games. So the kids are
Which they
there
believe
are
they can do
kids.
for a living.
Well, right. So a lot of the kids, I'm not saying all of them that way, but some kids are, I want to know
Okay.
this, I know I need to pass
Yes.
this, I need to talk to my teacher. But I'll guarantee you 60% of every classroom sitting out there, they're like, I'm just here because I got to be here and I got to listen to you and I'll take the test and I'll
I'm
pass
punching
it.
the clock.
Right. They're not mentally present enough to know that they don't know the stuff yet.
And so
Well,
now,
And they aren't being taught in any way that empowers them to learn that. And so they carry that same lack of skill set straight into the workplace.
You know what, I
That's
will-
all they're doing.
well,
You're right, and that would be a phenomenal skill to speak up to say, I don't really know this. Does anyone want to show me, or am I on my own?
Humility? Wow. There's a
Humility
concept.
and bravery. The bravery to say, I don't yet know
not
this.
Yeah.
reward that in
Right.
our
No,
culture.
we don't, and that's a
Humility
problem.
is shamed.
Well,
And
Yeah.
that is wrong.
right now, with you were talking about the kids falling behind on online school.
right,
Let's put it where it really matters, though. The fact is, these schools, teachers, and everything, they were never ready for this to happen. There was no plan, and there's too much fragmentation across the board. And I'll tell you why I know, because I have my children right now, okay? They're in Florida, FLVS. Virtual school that is set up, has a program that's set up and a way
Yep.
that they communicate, and they're doing well, okay?
Yeah.
Teachers, there's a lot of interaction.
FLDS was designed for this in
Right,
advance.
and but the rest of the systems are not. I mean, you got some schools are using Google Classroom, some are using Microsoft services, using just Microsoft Teams.
Teams.
You have so much fragmentation across the board. Some are paying third-party vendors to supply some kind of virtual environment, and if the system doesn't work, look what happened in Miami-Dade. Let's get rid of it right in the middle of the school year,
Right.
and destroy what had happened. They switched from one platform right to Microsoft Teams like instantly. You know what that does to the parents, the kids, the teachers? So
People with Apple products?
Good point.
yes,
Good
so
point.
the kids, they really don't know what is going on. You know, the teachers definitely don't know what's going on, because they're getting like, they only had like a month of training before even being slammed into
And
how
training online is an entirely different skill set. It really is.
So the kids are gonna suffer, because there is nothing. There's no one point. You know, they never planned for, hey, what would happen if a virus took over? We couldn't allow the kids to teach in
Yeah.
school.
Yeah.
There was no backup plan. There never was.
Right.
No, and it's like looking at the finances of a lot of businesses. You can tell who was running, paycheck to paycheck, because when this thing hit and they started to stumble, you start to see businesses closing. They've got no depth on their income, and so it's exposing these flaws in both the commercial and the private. I mean, personal sector. There's commercial and personal and private and public, but families that were running on the edge. Suddenly, there's nothing. And you really see where this planning is. And the same thing with this teaching thing. It's exposed the fact that we were running right at the edge of the functionality of our teaching system, that we get a bump and it just goes, yeah.
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 Think
just
about
falls
the
apart.
families that couldn't afford internet service.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Think about the families that could not even afford a computer, or even one that's in a working condition
Yep.
enough to support the services needed.
Yep.
Some didn't have webcams. I mean,
Yeah.
at the very beginning, webcams you couldn't get your hands on, microphones, they went out. Laptops, you couldn't even get a Google Chromebook, and
good
you still
in,
can't.
getting a Chromebook, right?
You know, and then laptops. Yeah, Chromebooks. I'll tell you, I had a school that could not. They grabbed a bunch of. They had to end up grabbing a bunch of Microsoft laptops because they couldn't get their hands on Chromebooks.
Yep.
HP and them told them, sorry, you're not going to see them for the next 3 or 4 months.
Yep.
You know, and they had to get up and going. So they had to take on, you know, Microsoft laptops. And even then, they couldn't get anything with Windows 10 Pro. They had to go get Windows 10 Home. But in order to sign into Google services, they need to have Google 10 Pro. So there was a huge, you know, they couldn't afford to send them back because they had no choice. They were stuck between a rock and a hard place, 30 laptops for no reason. You know? So it's.
But I also think this is it woke up the parents of these kids
Yeah.
that weren't doing well in the first place.
Yep.
Well, you know what? You could have a kid, you could have them in school and supposedly doing well, okay, but not really know how much they were really faltering
Struggling.
and
Right.
struggling until they were meant to do it on their own.
Right, and that's
Especially-
again, the social bravery, the social skills, that 10 seconds of bravery those songs used to have in there, you know,
See,
with brave 10.
I'm old
That's what
school.
you need.
Yeah.
You know, when we were in school and we didn't understand something, we raised our hand and said, "Can you do that on the board one more time?" We didn't have that one-on-one. That they didn't come.
No.
My teacher never hovered
No,
over
it
me
was-
going, "Hey, let me do that." It's like, here's another example. So to me, putting a camera, whether a webcam or a
Right.
camera, on a teacher that stands in front of that camera, and all these people are watching home, go, "Okay, this is how we do this," and they write on the board. You get the exact same experience there at home,
Because
and you
sometimes
do
you
that.
need it explained 3 or 4 ways
Right.
before you find
So
the way that fits.
so to me, I see. I'm hearing all this, and I'm writing, I'm reading about it, and I'm like, this shouldn't be this. Everybody's making this harder than it should be.
Okay.
If there's papers that you need, then the teacher sends the PDF to either all the students or the parent. The parent prints them out. There you go. Okay, the parents getting involved now. Ooh, there's nothing wrong with
Heaven
that.
forbid.
Give the piece of paper. Piece of paper sitting there. Okay, we're going to the chalkboard. This is how this works. Blah 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 blah. X Y equals. You're done. Now that should be the teaching lesson. Or the cat sat on the roof. You know, adjective, positive. You know, to me, if your kids are not absorbing that part, your kids are the problem, not the teachers,
Well,
and not the technology.
Well, not just that though, but also think about the children that have IEPs, individual.
Yeah, but I understand
and
all that.
that's even makes it even harder.
But those are getting the one-on-ones.
Not necessarily. They're getting a one-on-one, but what they're not without. They might have a one-on-one Zoom class and stuff, but without that person like literally being there and really pushing them.
But most of the IEP, because I have a child that he graduated from a special school. Even that special school right now, any of those that need that one-on-one, get that one-on-one.
Yeah.
The mom
Yeah,
and dad's
so
got to
I
bring
have-
them
I
in
have-
and stuff
yeah,
like that. They get all that. Pep and academies. But I'm not. Let's take the IEP kids out of it. You have a normal,
Right.
everyday student.
Everybody takes them out. Poor kids.
Yeah, they are. In a special room.
Kick your shin.
So they have, but those, just the straight kids should be able to watch that teacher on that screen, let them do the stuff on the board, and do it. And if they've got a question, can you do that one more time? Because I didn't get that. And that's where the bravery comes in, because
That's
those
where
kids are
bravery-
Yeah.
not
Yeah,
doing
you've got to
it.
lower the energy of activation.
Right.
Because they're going to be brave socially for just a few seconds,
Yeah.
and you've got to let them act on it.
Yep.
I like the fact that like when I watch my kids in FLVS, the teacher will literally call on them. Boom, that child.
Both my boys did FLVS to help get their schooling work done, because they were taking extra stuff and they did it online. One kid loved it, one other kid hated it.
Well, there's full time and then there's flex. Flex is when you go to regular school and then you're.
That's what they're doing. They were
okay.
doing the flex.
If you're in full time FLVS, there's guidelines and stuff that they go by. But I like the fact that they'll send the work in PDF. You have to. My one child's teacher. I need you to go ahead and write out the story. Okay. My daughter decides she's going to type out the story. She types it out and sends it to her. She goes, nah, throws it out. Literally throws it out and unlocks
Once
the assignment
you
again.
write it out.
Write it out. So she has to print it. She's got it all set up. She knows how to print it. She's 11. She prints it, writes it all out, sticks it back in a scanner, scans it, knows how to scan the PDF to her computer, and emails it back to her teacher.
Now, would you say she has an unusual amount of IT support to help her with that
Nope,
process?
she does. She's learned all that by herself, dealing with it. Not me.
Okay.
But you have a culture of we can do this at home.
They have no choice.
That's my
I
point.
have no choice.
A culture of we can do this.
We can do it.
Yeah, you can do it.
So we've only got about 2 minutes left, and I
How
want
did
to talk
that
about
happen?
something fun.
Fun.
Fun. Last
Fun.
story on
That's
the thing,
cool.
Rob, is okay. So someone did a
Yes.
resto mod. It's a limited edition retro-looking PC with a flake floppy drive. So this is what our computers used to look like back in the day, right?
Oh,
Is that a save icon?
in 2,000 years, it still will
They
be.
used a sticker on the front. Ah,
But look
come
at that.
on.
I know. Well, it's hard to find.
Could they have 3D printed the mold?
Wait, it's a
Yeah, that should've
sticker?
been-
It's a sticker.
Oh.
I could
Can you
have
get
gave
that
them
on
a
a
regular.
t-shirt?
I could have gave them a regular 3.14 floppy, but
I mean,
That's
to
a
me, that is cool to have a
I gotta get my hands on
computer
a
that
5
looks like that.
floppy.
You know, I was gonna say I've got 2 machines at home still. I think out in the workshop that actually have all that stuff still on the front of it.
Wow.
I have customers that bring in some of those machines, and usually they're
Oh my
running
God.
them on
Can
their
you
train
make- can you
station.
make
Their
these
train
work?
sets.
Yeah. You know,
They're running
I
their
mean,
train sets on Windows 98.
Oh,
Wow.
really? That's awesome. But I figured that is super cool.
Yep.
So-
I remember it was 1989, 1990. I bought my first 286. I was so happy because I still have it. It's the only computer I'll ever need.
4060X, it was a bomb.
This was from Digital Equipment.
Don't forget the Cyrax chip.
We have one that's from Laser.
You don't remember that one?
Of course not.
So yeah. Anyway,
All I did was play Lunar Lander with it.
Wes, thanks for coming on, man.
yeah,
that is a very, 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 very cool. How much does that thing cost? Didn't even ask that question. Probably can't. If
you have to ask, you can't afford it.
No, we retail it for about 20,000.
20 grand.
Yeah, trying to keep it at the low end.
Will that? Can I put that back in my truck? Give me a
I'll put that on my
boost?
bike.
Not here. No, not- if you
Up
get your
there?
truck like on top of the Roadster, if you get that on a Muskrocket,
We're all good.
Then we'll help you out.
That is awesome. Hey. All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in today to Tech Shamans. We appreciate it as normal. Tech Shamans at WeBeamTV.com. And if you got any questions, answers, or you got any comments, remember share the show, like the page. I need everybody to like the page. Thank you for liking the videos, but like the page because that kind
Definitely.
of helps us up a little bit. We will see everybody next Monday on Tech Shamans. Have
Ciao,
a good
everybody.
Tech
Yeah.
Week.
We got the plans cause we are the Tech Shamans. We understand cause we are the Tech Shamans. Dude, I got this cool thing to show you. Really, man? Yeah, it's far out and technical and stuff, boy, so yeah. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Come on and turn it on. Tune into the Tech Shamans. Cool.